Welcome back to this week's market update by me, T. Stephenson, your neighborhood realtor. This week we will be discussing housing as a hedge against inflation. Now, during an inflation, you want to be in a tangible asset that's outperforming inflation. For example, fixed monthly mortgage payments. Your biggest monthly cost is housing, and you want that asset to be something that's appreciating in value. So when you consider all the rising costs, for example, when you go to the gas station or the grocery store, even the dry cleaners are going up in prices. What I'm trying to get buyers to understand is that if you can lock in a major asset such as homes in today's market at today's cost, that will give you a huge hedge against inflation. Real estate is one of the time-honored inflation hedges. It's a tangible asset, and those tend to hold their value when inflation reigns, unlike paper assets. More specifically, as prices rises, so do property value. So we have an incredibly strong demand-driven market based on the consumer's balance sheets, the demographic of the country, along with the low rates. On this graph, we see home price appreciation versus consumer price increases over the decades. Now the blue bar, they represent inflation, and the green bars represent consumer price increases. So looking back into the 1970s, home price appreciation outperformed inflation. In the 1980s, we see 5.6% inflation and 5.5% home price appreciation. So it was a bit more balanced around that period of time. In the 1990s, we see a spike up in home price appreciation versus 3% inflation. So going into the 2000s, we were in a very different market, and home values performed at a very different rate than what we are currently seeing today and what we are projected to see going forward. In 2010, home values accelerated as much as higher acceleration in home values than inflation. Then moving on into the 2020s as well as the 2021s, we see a massive jump in home price appreciation. So looking at this, we see home prices outperform inflation for more than a decade. As buyers, this is where you want to be. By acquiring a tangible asset such as a home, by locking in that cost, it will shield you from inflation. For my sellers out there that are considering selling, what I would say is no one can truly predict where the market will be. So don't rely on your own opinion, rely on the facts, rely on the data. The tremendous amount of equity could be a potential game changer for you. Now, there's a quote that I wanted to touch base with you on. It says, "A fixed rate mortgage allows you to maintain the biggest portion of housing expenses at the same payment. Sure, property taxes will rise and other expenses may creep up, but your monthly housing payment remains the same. That's certainly not the case if you're renting." So this slide goes hand in hand with what we are talking about now, as well as the last week's market update where we discussed how the market is affecting prices for renters. Rent increases outperforming inflation in most years. What we see here is rental price appreciation and core inflation rate. This is going back to the 1970s. The blue line is core inflation rate. The green line is rental price appreciation. Rental prices have increased at a fast rate, faster than inflation. So precisely for those who can buy now, this shows us why renting is an important transition into home ownership. So if anyone is still on the fence about what's going to happen with prices, this graph will help clarify that. What experts are projecting it to go to in the next few years. Now on this other graph, you see the cumulative house appreciation by 2026 from the Home Price Expectation Survey, a group of 100 economists, investment analysts, people who project home price appreciation for over the past 5 years, the next 5 years. The orange bar, called pessimist, has the lowest projection over the next 5 years at 23.7% home price appreciation, cumulative year over year until 2026. Home values are expected to rise. We know mortgage rates are projected to rise as well. So locking in today's costs will be a major hedge against inflation. Well, this will wrap it up for this week's market update. Like I always say, my goal is to help you create wealth and purpose in this thing we call life. As always, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe for more market updates. By me, T, your neighborhood realtor.